Hey, Eddie here from Set and Flow Yoga and Eddie Guerra Fitness, here to answer a question that was asked of me recently. And the question was, how do I flow into my Tabata? So obviously this is for a fusion style workout, boot camp class, hot Pilates. The first things first, let's talk about what Tabata is. In 1996, there was a Japanese researcher named Izumu Tabata, and I probably just butchered his name. He's a doctor. He took two groups. Group 1 and Group 2. They each trained for 5 days. The first group trained 60 minutes a day at a moderate intensity for the 5 days. The second group trained all out, 20 seconds on, 10 seconds off for 8 rounds total. At the end of the experiment, what was found was that the group that trained at a moderate intensity had an increase in aerobic capacity, but not much in anaerobic capacity. The second group, the one that did the 20 seconds on, 10 seconds off, full out, followed by 10 seconds of rest, had an increase in the aerobic capacity and anaerobic capacity. And to make a long story short, and we'll get into this in further videos, but aerobic capacity means using the body, the muscles, the systems with oxygen. Anaerobic capacity means you're using the system without oxygen. And we'll get into why that's important later on in terms of fat burning and increasing one's anaerobic capacity and what type of look it creates in the body. But on to the question. The question was, how do you flow into Tabata? So let's talk about real world. You're in the class, you're teaching. One thing is that you yourself as a teacher have to be energetically ready at that point. If you know you're going to drop a Tabata on them, right, 20 seconds on, 10 seconds off, whether it be mountain climbers, burpees, squats, push-ups, you're doing 8 rounds, right? One is that you yourself have to be in that zone. So you have to know it's coming up. You have to start moving yourself, right? Taking in more oxygen, making bigger movements. That's one. So you energetically have to be there. Because if you're not there, it's not going to translate when you want someone to do something. 2 is you got to make sure your music's on point. Because if you got some lame-ass music about to come on, like a slow song or something that's just outdated, like you haven't updated your playlist in a while, right? And you're playing something from, I don't know, early 2005, it's not going to be as gratifying to the student when they have to do something of a high intensity if you're playing that type of music. If you're playing a song, you'll know, right? You look around the room, you got a hot song, you'll know because everybody's, all of a sudden they start to move a little bit more, they start to move their head. 2. 3 is you want to make sure that your time is on point. So there's been a lot of instances when I've been in class and the teacher's like, hey, we're going to do a Tabata, and it was off, meaning like they started late or it wasn't really 20 seconds on, 10 seconds off. The timing was off. So you got to be about that clock. So when I'm teaching a Tabata, for instance, I'll be like, hey, you're going to do this. You're going to do 20 rounds. You're going to do, that you would probably kill them. Don't do that. You're going to do 8 rounds of mountain climbers. You're going to go 20 seconds full out, 10-second rest, right? 8 times. I'm about that clock because I've already amped myself up energetically. I've already know I got a slamming song coming on. So now I'm going to be, to make sure that it's accurate, I'm going to look at the clock and I'm going to count people down, right? So if I know you got 5 seconds, I'm like, hey, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, so that they know it's coming to an end and they can keep on going. Then, hey, 10-second rest, right? 10-second rest, you can do active recovery, or you can have them stand still, whatever kind of floats your boat. One other thing about the Tabata, this is the time when it's like, you got to walk the walk, right? So if you're having people do Tabatas in class, straight up, you have to be doing them in your own practice. You can't say, do this full out if you yourself don't do it full out. So that's one other thing. So if you're having problem flowing into your Tabata, one thing to do would be actually like run your body through a little circuit and then be like, okay, this is when I'm going to do my Tabata. Does it feel right? And then you go full out for 8 rounds and see what that feels like. 2, when you do that, when you put yourself through it, and then you're talking to the students, it's real, right? Because you've done it. It's not like you just talked about it and had them do it. You've actually done what they're about to do. At this time, it's good to drop some metaphorical or some symbolic things. You can say things like, imagine you're being chased by a saber-toothed tiger or a bear, or imagine like there's a sale at Lululemon and you got to be the first. I say that one a lot. It gets a lot of laughs. It doesn't. But, okay, so that's covers the Tabata more or less. So the flow goes like this, right? You energetically have to be on point. Got to be ready to go. 2, music's got to be on point. 3, you've got to have done what you're talking about. 4, drop some metaphors like, hey, you know, you were designed to run like this. It's in your DNA, like go full out. The last thing, and we talked about this earlier, aerobic and anaerobics, right? And we'll get into that because there's a whole bunch of information out there about this type of training, HIIT training. Anaerobic means you're using the body systems without oxygen, which means that you're going to go start burning ATP, which is essentially you're burning fat. People are motivated as much as they are motivated by, for example, in yoga, gratitude, compassion, like they want that in their life. Totally legit, they do. People also want to look a certain way. And if they want that, you punch that ticket in the sense you're like, hey, you know, this is the part where if you really want to fire it up, light yourself up, burn fat, you know, you want to have that body you always talk about, then here it is. Now is the time. So address it. Don't ignore it and act like it doesn't exist because it's true. Anyway, that's enough for the Tabata training. I hope that answered the question. If you have any more questions, just send it to my inbox, and I'll see you next time. Peace.